When we first started planning for our early retirement, we just kind of figured that we were planning for that whole time, from the time we left our jobs to the time we would, well, be in a retirement home.
Right, we didn't think it'd change.
Yeah.
We're gonna go, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do whatever we want to. We're gonna do it for as long as we can and see what happens. We're kind of starting to learn now that there are stages to this.
Yes.
And that we're kind of between the first stage and the second stage.
Yeah, we're kind of, we might have entered that a little bit faster than some people because we were moving so quickly. But yeah, so today what we want to do is kind of go over with you the 3 different stages of retirement so that when you are planning and figuring out how much money you are going to need for those years, you're doing it with some of these things in mind.
So phase 1 is the go-go years. You're moving, you're getting around the world, you're traveling, you're doing your thing, thinking this is it, this is retirement, and you soon come to find out that this isn't everything you expected it to be.
No, and this is the area where everybody plans for, thinking this is what it's going to look like. Like, you have to have the money put away because you're going to be traveling all the time. You're going to be, I don't know, just exploring and entertaining yourself a lot. And that is true for those first years.
For the first few years.
Yeah.
You're spending money is what you're doing.
You're spending money and you have the energy to go spend it.
I think the key word there was the energy to go spend to spend it, the excitement. That novelty will wear off, and that's kind of where I think, not necessarily where we're at. The novelty hasn't worn off yet, but we can see it coming.
We can definitely see it coming, and that's where we were kind of saying that we've kind of see ourselves veering a little bit into maybe even the second stage in some of the categories at least. So yeah, in this stage, you know, you're spending a lot more money because the things that you may have had on your bucket list places to go and see and do are pretty expensive. Some of those things we've recently been checking off as well.
I had this conversation with a friend just yesterday. We planned this video out months ago. Yesterday we had this conversation and he asked me, how much will I have to retire because I want to do this, this, and this. Now he's 15 years younger than I am. So I said, well, you're not going to be doing this, this, and this the entire time. And he said, oh yes, I will be. Well, he'll soon find out.
We'll see if he has energy for that. And also during this time, you're also spending a lot more on still buying a lot of things maybe for a home that you might have, or spending more on eating out and entertainment. And those are kind of all those things that you, like we were saying, you planned for when you were working all these hours. You keep looking, going, oh, when I retire, I'm going to really enjoy life.
Now, expensive hobbies is another one to consider. The golf, the fishing, the boating, all those things are going to cost money. And if you have time to do them, you're going to want to do them all the time. I can tell you right now, if somebody was to give me a boat for free, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford the fuel. I couldn't afford the dock. I couldn't afford the upkeep, any of it. I've had a boat, and I want another boat, but that lottery won't come soon enough. So there's that element also, is how are you going to spend your money? How often are you going to spend your money that you already spent on those hobbies?
Right, and the other area is maybe home improvements. So things you've been putting off, now you have the time. And this is considering, you know, we travel full time. A lot of people are keeping a home. Maybe there's things that you wanted to do to improve that home. This is going to be that time you're probably doing that. You know, so there's just this go-go years are the expensive years. Yeah, so a lot of things to kind of just keep in mind.
So how do you get past those pitfalls? Plan early, plan often, know what you have money for and what you want to spend that money on. If you want to spend it on your hobbies, go for it. If you want to travel like we do, you need to budget.
Yeah, you really need to be looking and going, okay, in those first, say, 5 years that we are retired, or even just a couple years, honestly, where are those big places we want to venture to? How much is that kind of going to cost? It's a little bit hard to plan completely what it's going to cost you, but you can get a pretty good idea. Just make sure you have those things in mind so you know you're saving the right amount of money. The other area that you want to save for is insurance, because if you are retiring early, you do not have Medicare yet, and you need to make sure that you're planning, because that's one of the biggest holdbacks of people, especially here in the States, of being able to retire early and afford that health care. Not only the health care at home, but health care on the road. You want to make sure you have that travel insurance
as well. And that's something that we're going through already, is that health care side of things. Now, I'm going to be 55 here in the month of May, and it's something that I had a blood clot, I've had an allergic reaction. You know, getting old
Yeah.
It's for the birds. I'm
You
telling
may,
you that
yeah.
right now. So the healthcare portion of it is something that we're very well aware of.
We are, and I think that the one standout for me is always the people who go, I'm really healthy. Like we consider ourselves really healthy. We actually eat pretty healthy. We may drink our beer and everything, but we're on the move. We exercise. We stay trim, whatever. And those are the things that can happen without you even thinking about it. And these, both of them required hospital visits and went a hospital stay. So those are things that can set your go-go years back. You may have to go back to work. So, yeah.
Yeah, my legs swelled up so bad from this blood clot. I was hobbling around and I saw my reflection in this doorway and I looked like my dad. And he looks great for 81, don't get me wrong. But I was, oh God.
That was actually on the way into the hospital.
I was like, man, it's gonna come up quick. Now, one thing that we're finding out, and we have discussed this in past videos, is inflation. Make sure you save some room, quite a bit of room sometimes, for inflation and those unexpected things that could come up.
Yeah, and that goes along with also just making sure that you have an emergency fund. You don't necessarily want your emergency fund to go towards your travels, so that may be a different fund. But those emergencies that come up, what if you are traveling, you have an emergency back home, you need to come home unexpectedly, those last minute flights can really get you. Having to stay maybe in a place where you don't have accommodations and you're paying where you didn't expect to. Just make sure you have that, because nobody wants to get set off track again and have to not be able to spend our retirement doing the things we planned on.
So overspending is a key element in what we do. We started off our travels 4 years ago now, and overspending was a big long swear word for us. We just refused to overspend. We probably were overly cautious in everything we did, in every place we stayed. But we're happy looking back that we did make those tough choices not to spend money. And now looking back, did we miss out on a few things? Perhaps, but are we glad we did it? Absolutely.
And for us, we quit early, we retired early, we're doing what we're doing now, which helps us a bit. For you, maybe it's just that little bit extra planning. So you make sure that you have that little extra money put away so you don't have to cut those corners, because most people don't want to. We just really wanted to get out of the 9 to 5.
We wanted to get out, and it's going to be different for everybody. Some of you are going to want to keep your homes. Some of you are going to want to travel differently than we do. Some of you are going to want to stay home, stay in the States, buy a Winnebago, and travel North America, which is something that if you have an extra Winnebago laying around, that's something we would love to do someday. So those are all things that you need to consider.
So now the next level that you're going to reach, and kind of where we're kind of finding ourselves veer a little bit into this now, is called the slow-go years. And this is where you just kind of find yourself going, okay, we've done a lot of the traveling, we've had a lot of fun, and we're ready to kind of have a mix of both worlds a little bit and slow down a little bit.
Yeah, now we're going to say that with caution, because I'm still ready to go.
We're still going, we're just doing it a little differently.
We're doing a little bit differently, but we leave, we're home now. We leave next week, and I'm jacked up. I'm excited to go, and that always happens. So I still have that thrill in me to get out there and go. So we're not quitting this travel thing anytime soon, but we are aware that it's not going to last forever.
Right. So now during this time, what you're going to be seeing is your spending on those travels can sometimes start to really veer down. You might only be going traveling a couple times a year for maybe longer vacations, but then having that home base or something.
Those home-based activities can add up as well. So just because we're home, I still have to watch what I'm spending, because I can tend to go out with the buddies or do things that I'm not obviously doing on the road that kind of catch up with me as well. So that's one of the things where I got to be aware of my expenses even when I'm at home. However, if you're done with your travels, you get into these slow years, golf might be another option. Some of those hobbies that you kind of put off because you were traveling, you can get back to.
Yeah, and then in the other area, you're going to also see, like, potentially have a little bit of an increase is you're getting older, and if you haven't gone and maybe gotten Medicare yet, your insurance starts to go up, and that is something that we're definitely feeling with the insurance that we carry, is that as we get older, you spend more each year. It continues to go up. You also might see that you're going to, maybe have some medical issues arise where your prescription costs monthly or costing you a bit more, or whatever those things are. So these are all kinds of things that you might see during this time start to increase.
Yeah, those prescriptions, the $50 a month that I may have to be paying for my blood thinner could be something that adds up rather quickly. But I am finding out that since I've been home now for a few weeks, I'm not spending as much money with the buddies or eating out. We kind of got back into our groove with just eating at home.
Yeah, I think when you get to this age, when you're younger, you're eating out that's your weekend, right? You're going out with friends, you have all these big plans and everything, and then all of a sudden you get into your kind of slowing down years, and during that time, you're not going out as much. I mean, honestly, at the beginning of the week, I sometimes look at Brian, I'm like, okay, we can plan one thing this week. I don't want a bunch of things. And this is when we're home.
Yeah, we're definitely getting old.
Definitely slowing down.
We eat dinner at 4:30 and we go to bed by 8:30.
Not that early. Although that's not a bad idea.
The blue hairs.
Blue hair group. Yeah. And also during this time is also when you really want to kind of start taking a look at those finances. You've done the travel, the bigger travel, right? You've done some of the big things you had planned on doing. This is now that time you want to look at those finances and make sure that they are balanced out really well, because you still have a while in front of you, hopefully. You have a lot that you still have to budget for. So some of the planning that you're just going to want to do during that slow go years is, slow down the trips a little bit, slow down those expenses a little bit of the longer trips, slow down, any of that kind of spending, that other spending that you do. It's very easy when we are younger to want to continually replace things in our home and redecorate and change things up. And it's funny because when you look at maybe older generation, sometimes people will be like, oh, their house hasn't changed in a lot of years. There's a reason behind that. Not so much the spending. I think you just kind of get tired of rebuying things. So
they got old and they like their old stuff.
They like their stuff.
And that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
Phase 3. Late retirement, okay? That doesn't mean you're done, doesn't mean you're over. You're still alive, you're still doing things. You're just in late retirement now. My parents are coming on a cruise with us next fall. 81 years old, they're gonna make it happen. We're excited about that because even though that they're old and retired now, they're still getting out there and they're still getting it done.
And this phase is called your no-go years. Doesn't mean you're not going anywhere, because like you said, you can reach those later years. And to a lot of you, 81 may not seem like the no-go years, and we may be talking more like 85, 90 to a lot of people. But
you still do it.
Yeah, this is definitely that time you're gonna see yourself slow way down. So yeah, the traveling for a lot of people at this point, I know the comfort for a lot of people at this time is gonna be being closer to the doctors they're comfortable with, being close to family, just being close to the comforts of home, and really comes down to what you're comfortable with.
But don't quit.
Yeah, don't quit.
Don't quit.
So during this time, one of your focuses definitely is going to be a little bit more healthcare related, sadly, but it is the case. You might be looking at, your expenses going a little bit higher, more medical needs. You might be starting to look at going to potentially assisted living later on, or looking at that long-term healthcare insurance. You probably should have been looking at that maybe in the stage right before this, to just make sure that you're protected during this time. But this is kind of that point where a lot of expenses go down considerably, but then some of those other big expenses can really go up.
Right, you probably don't have friends anymore, so you don't have to go out and drink beers and do all that stuff. So you can cut back in that category and kind of slide money over here. Back to what we were talking about before, kind of have all your expenses laid out. By now you should have a pretty good idea of your monthly medications, your health care, so you can adjust accordingly.
Yeah, this is really the time when I can't tell you how many people we've talked to of this generation, of this older generation, we'll just say, because it's a broad range of where you will find yourself at that. is that they just don't, they're like, yeah, we don't get together with friends much anymore. Like they just don't have a desire to. It's not that they don't have some friends, they just don't do those. They're not going out for the dinners every week or every other week. You know, it might be a once a month or every couple month thing. So that discretionary spending really starts to become pretty minimal. So this is an area where you may just find yourself not having to plan for a whole lot of extras there.
Carrie's already getting to that point where she doesn't want to leave the house. So one of us has already gotten to that point. So planning for the no-go years is something that we think about even at our ripe old age of our mid-50s, almost 55. So it's something that's, we're aware of it. We know it's going to happen. We're welcoming it. We're hoping that we get to that point. So how do you prepare mentally and financially?
Right. So, I mean, you really need to ask yourself, what do you want those late years for you to look like? Do you want to be in a retirement home? Do you want to have home care, be able to come in and just have somebody into your home? Those both cost a lot, but they both cost something quite different. So make sure you're thinking through all of those things so that you are not overspending earlier on in your retirement years, and then you don't have enough money put away. So, yeah, it's just a lot of questions you're going to ask yourself. And a lot of planning.
You should be asking yourself that question in your mid-20s. Now, most don't. We're doing it now. When we decide not to go to Iguazu Falls, it's because we're thinking of our budget and what we want to do and what we can afford to do, but we're always thinking long-term.
So really the key at this point is make sure you have very much set up kind of that financial safety net. This is that time that you are going to be spending the money, like we said, so make sure that you have enough put away for that. But at the same time, you know, what we have realized of what they tell you need to put away and what you really need to during your retirement years can kind of be really way out there. You got to do your own planning, do it the way you want. We're not going to give any level of financial advice, but also I think just being realistic. So so we hope this is helpful, because I know for us, when we first started traveling or looking at retirement, I didn't really think about 3 stages. It didn't even cross our minds until we started going, and then all of a sudden we kind of heard these terms.
Right.
And it was like, holy moly, that is absolutely true, of that you do want to go, go, go. And then you kind of want to go a little slower.
And a little slower.
And we haven't got to the end point yet.
But we're not going to quit.
No.
We're going to keep it going. This is our quick take on the 3 phases. This is kind of the way we look at it. We did it a little bit differently than most will, but we encourage you to look at the way we do it and see if maybe you can. This is our opinion. We're standing by it.
Yep.
We appreciate you watching. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like. Be a part of us. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
Cheers.